Okay, so I'm back here with more development stuff. Now I realized I've been working without recording, so I've got this thrown up now. Between last video and this one, I've added more listeners, I've tweaked a bit of the JSON processors, and the multi-block should be implemented. I haven't tested anything though, so we don't know if it functions or not, but that's the whole point of recording this, is that we're getting to that point. So one of the things I did implement is the listeners do support objects now, so they do support this ID system, and they do support additional data. They do support the additional data via the JSON injection system, so now every time a class gets passed in here that has additional data, it'll build its own injection system, and then you'll handle it that way. So we're going to set this up real quick. So this is the small thing, or small silo, and we're going to put it, this is the key we're looking for, so we're going to put this here, and I'll explain this in a second, see if I type it. So what I've done, of course, I've set this up so it loads, but I'm just now getting to setting up the processors and stuff. So I've got the listener. This listener needs a key type object. So it needs to know kind of what you're looking for. So you define, hey, I want a listener, but you didn't tell the listener what to do. That was the problem with the older version, the reason why we don't have any structures. Because we have this layout down here, but this layout is not any good unless we define how to use it. How we define how to use it is up here in the listener. We go, okay, this is the layout we're looking for. We're looking at for this thing here, and this will define the listener. This will create this listener object, which will then handle pretty much everything you need to do for a multi-block. I do need to adjust this key real quick. So that would be layout key, so this will inject, so it'll initialize and it'll create the system. I do need to go hunt down where the listener JSON processor is real quick, and I do need to take a look at it. Also, I did create the multi-block template now. Pretty straightforward. Implement I multi-block tile host on here. We pass the call in first to the tile. So if the tile node is a multi-block host, it's going to get first call on everything, so we get first dibs. Then if it doesn't handle anything, then it passes it into listeners. We grab the listeners off the tile, so this is our tile class, which now has listener support, and then we try to grab the listeners off the block. The thing that I do need to handle with this is I almost forgot to do this. Is we're going to go with listener instance of I block listener. We need to inject the position. So it'd be listener dot inject, and we need to go world x I y I and zi. Then I've got to handle this the same way I've been handling. Well, actually, you know what? We're just going to do this part. The system is designed that it should not do something stupid, so we're just going to do it this way. The eject system was only used for cleanup, and it's just kind of retarded in my opinion. So there we go. We inject if it's a block listener, we tell it what its location is, so before we call the call, it knows where it's at. This is important because the multi-block listener is not a tile listener, even though we could make it a tile listener. The tile listener system isn't set up fully. We can add listeners, of course, so they're there. We can actually access them and do things with them, but the JSON system doesn't know how to create tile listeners for each tile. We're going to need a new listener for that, so we're going to need a tile entity creation listener, and then inside the creation listener is where we would actually create tile listeners every time a tile would be created. So you create a tile and then you do that thing. When we go to do that, we'll actually transition this over to a tile listener properly. That way we don't have to do this thing. So we don't have to inject every time. It'll run better that way. For the moment, we want to get this running, we want to get this tested, and I want to get the ICBM to a usable state again so I can get back to work on other things. So we got the multi-block system, which is set up. We'll have to run the generator for that again in a second. Here's the processor for the actual structures themselves. This needs to be renamed. It's actually misnamed. So multi-block layout processors. This actually is what processes the layout, not the multi-blocks themselves. That's good. We don't need that. Don't need that. We set this up here. We do need to mirror this on our other systems, or else we don't have a layout key. If we don't have a layout key, it won't activate the listener. We do need to do one more thing, and I almost phased out and forgot about this. So this is the reason why I opened this up originally. Is I haven't registered this listener yet. So there's nothing that tells how this listener functions, and I gotta go find. Why is this airing out? Okay, that's just IntelliJ being its weird self again. So there's a listener system. I believe that is somewhere. It's in the, no, it's not the logic framework. I created a whole bunch of listeners. I don't remember where I put them at. Prefabs? Prefabs, probably. Prefabs, tile. Ah, here we go. So these are handled in a special way, and by special way I mean they basically are primitively handled. You just literally have a provider here, and this is used to actually register this. So you add a builder inside the engine. Right now the only thing we've got the rotation listener, so we're going to want to add another listener here. But we need to add the builder real quick. So this will be put down here, and this will pretty much create the multi-block listener. And this is with the listener key, multi-block. And then we go back to our engine, and we go json block listener processor add builder, be new, multi-block. There it goes, it found it. So yeah, register all things. And for people who want to make plugins, by the way, it's real easy to handle this. You just make your own listeners for your event handles, and then you just have to add your listeners. There is an external override system, and then you can also internally call things. So you could just call the block you want to add a listener to. Say you wanted to do some kind of debug real quick, you can call block base for, say, the silo, and you add a debug listener, which then just debugs all the events you want to listen to. If you want to add interaction for certain mods, you can add listeners that way. So every time somebody right-clicks with a, say you wanted, when you right-clicked a silo, you wanted to turn gold. You could add a listener for that real quick that would just change the texture. And that is actually a doable thing. You'd have to, it would be more complicated than that though. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that change the texture, but it is functional. So this is handled now. So we want to just test a small silo. I think the rendering is handled for this already. Although we didn't see it render earlier, that's probably because something's weird down here. Oh, because these are not named correctly. Small silo. Oh, we got to pass in the appropriate tile class. That's what I'm missing, why these aren't rendering properly. Surprised it doesn't crash. The reason it probably doesn't crash is it actually found the tile and applied a tile render to a tile that already had a tile render. So we'll probably go place the test tile and it'll render as a standard launcher. Or a crash, one of the two. Inventory isn't handled because I don't think it's set up properly. And I don't know if it's set up right. What do you want, Tess? Here, go lay down. Where's my dog's being needy? I'm watching all of my covers right now, and she's looking for a place to sleep, and she normally sleeps in the curled up in my covers. But she can't do that right now. So, yeah. I have to maybe cut this short so I can go find her somewhere to nap at. So let's see, we got all this here. Hit build, hit rebuild. Oh, okay, I'll pick you up and you can sit on my lap while I cook. You okay? That good? Dog acts more like a cat than a dog. It's still rebuilding. Okay, so that's built up now. Now we can do and debug. See if this will actually load and run properly. Oh, we have a JUnit test failure. Ah, that's right, because we added a unit test, or words are failing me today. We added another processor to this list, so we have to increase that number real quick. Let's see, still running, okay. Doing this at like 1:30 in the morning. Completely, horribly broken my sleep schedule. It's the reason why I've only been doing like maybe one of these videos a day, compared to where last week I was doing like 3 to 5 a day. Really hard to get these out in the evenings. Much more distractions, more phone calls, have to handle stuff. Yeah. So get this tested, get the multi-block code running, hopefully the render code will run, get the silos back in order, get everything tested and functional because I need to make sure this stuff is actually going to last properly. Then I got to make JUnit tests to ensure that there's not an accidental slip up and we push something into production that is broken. Especially with this JSON system, is that it's unpredictable if it's going to break. There's the only indication you're going to see when it actually breaks is that your content just straight out won't load, because it's all dependent on a processor taking in a data file and the data file functioning. So that I need to make some kind of testing system that will test these data files to ensure they're valid, that they load, and that they load up properly. And of course that's going to have to be data driven too, because I don't want to be writing JUnit, or I don't want to be writing manual JUnit tests to test data which is meant to reduce the amount of code written. If you got to like double the amount of code you originally had to write to make something, and then you kind of you're self-defeating. Hopefully, one of my projects, which is called Mr. Smith, which I've been developing for the last couple years, is going to solve that. It's an automated testing system. It's designed to not replace JUnit testing, as JUnit testing is still required to function with it. It's designed to load the game up and play the game, like a player would play it. So I'd be opening everything up, placing content in the world, making sure all the content's there, making sure the content's placed in a certain way, and it'll be data driven. So you provide a JSON file that goes, okay, I need you to test, say, the shotgun. And I need to make sure that when you fire it a couple times, you kill an enemy with it, that it actually fires, you get spent shells, stuff like that. A really straightforward test, not overly complicated. The main purpose that we're actually developing Mr. Smith for is to do compatibility testing. So if I load up another mod with my mod, I need to make sure they load together and that their content functions together. That's something that's really hard to test because it requires you to toss a whole bunch of mods in your workspace and then understand how to play all the mods, and then it takes a lot of time to test compatibility. In order to solve for that, I can create automated systems in Mr. Smith that are designed to test basic functionality and expectations. So if you have a fluid tank in your mod, for example, I don't actually need to know how your fluid tank works precisely. There's a basic expectation that if I attach a pipe to it, fluid goes in, fluid comes out, as long as you're utilizing the methods correctly. So if you return to me saying, yeah, I can connect my pipe, and if you return, yeah, you accept this fluid, and I go to put fluid in you, and you say, no, I can't take the fluid, then you failed the expectation of the interface, and therefore your content is incompatible with my content. So see, it looks like the launchers are still working. No, they're not initializing correctly. Yeah, there's a null point exception somewhere in here. I guarantee it. Okay, so we're in the debug console, and we go all the way to the bottom. There's no error handling there. There's something wrong. But we're going to handle that in a second. What I want to handle is this guy. Okay, so he's not functioning. And the reason we're not seeing a multi-block structure form is there's actually some code missing. I I'm missing the update loop code for the listeners. That's something I have to add. But we should still see a render. Do I have any other render tile? Yeah, these might render, so let's go ahead and break these. Okay, so this should be the only tile I have rendering, and we need to go find our render system and check to see if it loaded properly. So the content ID should be right. The rest of this should be right. It should have thrown an error if it failed to find these. The model IDs could be wrong. That could be what's happening. But then again, it should have thrown an error. Speaking of which, let's see if the recipe's working. Yeah, recipes work. So we know those are functional. Speaking of which, I need to go check my client's recipes real quick. Oh yeah, they're just straight out not loading. Okay, that's the reason why his recipes don't work. So I was testing his mod earlier here because I already gave him the mod over to test with. I'm like, why aren't the recipes loading? They should load, and I'm testing it on like they won't work, and it's like I know exactly why they're not working right now. There's a missing or dictionary name. So what are we testing? Ah, yeah. I remember what we were testing. We need to test the render system. So that's going to be in the client. Tile render handlers, I believe what we're looking for. Okay. So he's not rendering. And I'm not sure why. This entire class is not even being called whatsoever. Find usage. Yes. Okay, we got render dynamic. Okay, that's not what I want. I don't care about that. I don't care about either one of these. I want to know where this class is used. Aha. Okay, so if data is instance of tile render data, and tile class doesn't equal null. So it's the data part. Okay, so if you look at our thing, look at this here. Tile class is existent. Okay. Bind this. So it could be the tile class loaded in null. So this is going to be ran in the render JSON processor. Tile, load tile class. Failed to load. Okay, so we're going to put the debug breaker here, and we're going to reload the pack. And I'm also going to catch really quickly why I do this is edit the wrapper so that way it does the update loop check. So in the update method, and also where's my multi-block code? So in here, I want to grab the listener. I don't want to grab this listener. Templates actually is what I want to grab. So template, multi-block template. I want this code. And then I want, okay, the tile wrapper, and then in here is where I want to put things. So we want to go, okay, if it's an instance of I update listener, we want to call update. Okay, we don't need to return Boolean on this. We just need to loop through everything. We also need to put a try catch around each of the update calls. And the reason why we want to do this is that if you're familiar with modding, you've most likely run into a ticking tile exception, which is where something fails inside of the loop, update loop. You want to prevent that from happening. And that's actually so remarkably easy to do. In this one, we just want to do this. Instance of block, we want to inject it real quick. And then we would go listener dot update. Maybe not. No, it's there. It's just that I'm gonna probably have to manually wrap it real quick. Or cast it is actually what it's called. There we go. And we want to do update, and then we want ticks. Tix is apparently an int, even though it's supposed to be a long. Okay, so that'll get us our update loop, and really quick document it. So Tix listeners that require updates, and then Tix node. Yeah, that'll work. There's a couple other listeners we need to add, like there's listeners for player usage, there's listeners for cleanup tick. I need to add listeners for invalidate and devalidate, which is what this is, by the way. There's a tile load unloaded event. This would be better handled via listeners. There's get description packet listeners to be added, save and load listeners. Not much else needs to be really added here, because the rest of this is actually not things that are. Most of the rest below there is wrapper calls. Like these, we're using this to wrap to get metadata. By the way, the reason why there's a separate method here for this, if you implement a host for a node on an entity, you can't just call get block at location because you may be between two blocks, for example, is a good way to do it. You may be moving, for example, so the block you got that last tick is not the same block you're in the next tick. So you want to make sure you fake this data so that way, one is you're trying to get the data the tile entity is. So if the tile entity expects to be, say, a chest with metadata 0, you want to make sure it returns chest with metadata 0. There's also can access world check, which is going to be implemented by most nodes to recognize if they can handle world calls. So if you want to make, say, a fluid loading cart that auto loads fluid itself so you don't have to have a special machine for it, then you want to call get access world because you only want to access the world when you're stationary or substationary, close enough that you don't have to worry about being moved. That way you can run all your calls and you can handle all your animations and stuff. And there'll be callbacks in both directions. Like there'll be a callback to the node asking if I can move. So if I'm an entity and I go, okay, can I move? Can I move forward? And the node goes no, then you can't move. If it goes yes, you can move. And it'll be both directions. It'll be called back and forth. So you want to check to see why our tile class isn't loading, and then we just handled the update call, so that'll fix that issue. My dog is still roaming around trying to look for someplace to sleep. Oh. Alright, that's launching. I guess I can go step away and find her a spot to lay down. Just the cool, amazing thing about having a wireless headset is I can talk across my house even though I'm nowhere near my desk. So yeah, right now I'm pretty much waiting for my dog to come inside before I can return back to doing things. Because apparently she didn't actually want to go lay down, she wanted to go stand outside and stare at things. Should get a webcam for this, this would be entertaining-ish. Apologies for this delay in doing things. My dog is being extra picky. One of the fortunate things, I haven't cut my grass outside in days, and now I've got foot-tall grass, and my dog is barely a foot off the ground. So the dog is roaming around through the grass, trying to figure out a spot where likely could use the restroom and is not working. I wonder if anybody's ever considered doing things like this in Minecraft, where you actually would programmatically add things to AIs that would make them picky and finicky about where they're at in the world. So if they're like near tall grass, they'll act a little strange. If they're in a more comfortable spot, maybe they'll get more tired. Be like one of those really cool immersion style mods you can implement in Minecraft. It's actually a mod developer I could think of that would be perfect for them to do. They already make like a life type mod where there's a ton of animal life, and animal life can reproduce, and they build nests and dens and caves and stuff, and behave like real animals. And it's a pretty cool mod. I've been following them on Twitter. I haven't actually played their mod. Well, I eventually will. One of these days I'll actually load up Minecraft with a mod pack made of not my mods and play it. Right now I'm playing Space Astronomy is the only mod pack I actually play that is not made of my mods. Although that may change here soon as we want to implement ICBM in there. I'd like to start launching not exactly destructive missiles off of space stations, but cargo missiles, because that's very useful. As I'm currently in a super flat mining dimension, I'd like to be able to transport cargo back to the main dimension in bulk, because doing it through other means is just kind of boring. Let's see, what else is there to talk about why I wait for a dog to be less finicky. So when it comes to ICBM, once we get all of this going, not sure what content I'm going to add in 1.7, but if I get this system built up correctly, we won't have to worry about what version I add my content for. It'll be, we make content and it'll deploy across multiple versions. So if I add a new silo in one version, it gets added in all versions. And this is where I keep talking about I might backport to 1.6 and 1.5.2 potentially to give people who are running older packs access to newer content, as a lot of people are using older versions of mods. Come on, Taz, inside. Yay, the dog is finally returned into the inner world. I guess she gave up. I feel like I kind of want to build like a cat litter box for dogs because of this situation. At least it hasn't been as bad. I used to live in an apartment. It was horrible because the dog didn't want to go outside anytime anything happened. But it looks like we have our actual system here. So it does recognize a tile. It did collect the tile object. So if we go really quickly, so here's the data. We should see a tile cluster. So yeah, I just found it. Tile wrap small silo. By the way, we need to check that class to see if it's actually handled properly. So I'm going to assume that part's correct. I know the standard silo one's incorrect, although it is finding a tile. So the trick is, why isn't it registering properly? So maybe we want to put a break here. Might be a little bit too late into the debug process to hit a break line there. Maybe not. Speaking of which, where is the small silo? I want to see if it actually implemented the wrapper class properly. So we have, oh yeah, it's under launchers. Because really, in all honesty, a silo is just a launcher with a render cage around it. They don't operate any different. They're all the same. So small silo and small silo. It did not put the tile entity wrapper around, or this wrapper, and it's most likely because it didn't run the system. Okay, so just hitting this. And of course, it's going to go through every piece of render data. Okay, we did find one. This data. What are you? You're the standard silo. Okay, I don't really care about the standard silo. Okay, what are you? You are the test silo. Or actually, that was a test tile is what that one was. Okay, I think we found the one we're looking for. Here's small silo, so if you go in here. Okay. So special renders should contain, oh my god, look how many renders there are. So, oh yeah, this is a bucket style system, so we're not going to find what I'm looking for without a little bit of effort here. Cruise launchers. So we're looking for, would be ICBM, content, launcher. It's not that. Bit tricky to find things in here. Small mag. Tile message, which is the radio tower. Did we actually, did it go? Okay. Let's go back to the debugger here. So I mean the tile class is correct. And our tile special handler is correct. So there's no problem here. I mean, it's running as intended. It did register, it just, now we have to figure out why we're not rendering. Which is confusing. Probably because we got the model wrong. Okay, so we come down here. Small silos are content ID. It should match this. Class is correct. ICBM small silo is what we're using for the key for the model, which does match this. So these both match each other. We got the domain. The only thing I can think of is it's not loading this part because we got the small missile silo is in a subdirectory. That'll be the next thing to test, and that'll be in the model JSON system. By the way, we're not going to see the multi-block form because the... Yeah, actually we might see it form. Maybe. Because it might take the update call. It might crash too. Really leaning on that crashing side right now. Highly likely. Oh, I heard audio. Ah! Got my hopes up. So, still not doing its thing. So, why are there so many slimes? Just amazing just how many slimes you'll get in your little test world. Okay, so we're gonna have to retest this whole thing. So that means I need to test the model system. Which is down here. I don't know why I'm looking up there for it. So we got a model JSON loader. And it's designed to get the name, get the key, puts both of those into the model data object. Puts in the name. That looks about right. And we should have gotten, so if we get the model and it calls this line, it will throw an exception. The system's designed, if it cannot find a model, it actually will crash the game. And if the model is invalid, it will crash the game. So this system is running, but we're still not getting a render call because this line didn't run at all. But we know it's being registered. So what gives? One thing I do need to know I need to run is, I actually need to edit configuration to figure out why the flip is this not running. This needs to run first. Hit apply. Yeah, because we're running Minecraft 2, yet the code generator doesn't act like it ran. Because we should have got new templates is what should have happened. Unless I messed the template system up. Tank provider wrapped, multi-block wrapped, new annotation down here. I mean, it looks good. Looks like it's set up properly. Let's rebuild the project real quick, just in case things aren't compiling. We know this is running. Weird things are happening. Another thing I haven't considered is the tile isn't being placed. So if we go to here, we do have a tile being set up. We've got render bounds in here, which I'm going to remove actually. That goes bye-bye. The reason I'm saying that it goes bye-bye is it's actually become part of the block class. I'm going to recode the block to handle render bounds and stuff. It seems logical, I guess. I don't know what happened there. Oh, well, frack. We're missing a bracket. That's where we're missing the bracket as right here. Okay, that fixes that. So we got render bounds now, we got this. So, I mean, the ID is proper. The class is correct as far as I know. It would actually crash if we couldn't find it. Is this, I mean, this tag should be correct. I did just edit the tile loading system because I was considering coming up with some way you could load a tile class and reuse it across multiple blocks. It's somewhat of a thought I'm going to toy with. Let me go find where this is at. So this should be down in the JSON system. Processor block. Okay, here it is. So yeah, it gets a class and ID. This gets passed into provided by class. So this all looks good. It gets a class here. So it will crash, by the way, if it can't find a class. It will just straight out flat crash, which will then throw a runtime exception saying we haven't found that, which then will crash the game. This looks good. This is the part that is not right. Okay. So this should be called tile entity. I don't know why it's called tile. Is it meant to be called tile? Okay, hold on. We're gonna go find our test class. So I built up a test system for this already, and I've already tested it, and I've already shown on video that it does work. Yeah, it's called tile entity. So this could be what was breaking it right there, is the get JSON key. Actually, we can just use this key. I don't know why I didn't pay attention to that. Load order doesn't matter, because this isn't actually registered as a proper JSON processor. Even though I did code it as a JSON processor, it's not registered as one. I can't think of what could cause this to fail. We're going to put a debug line there just so we can watch it run. And then I'm going to run debug here, and I'm going to hope that this class turns into something else here in a second. So code generator ICBM ran. Found a fuck ton of classes. This class didn't change. Why not? Okay, where's the run code? Okay, so directory listeners. It's not actually what I want. Directory silos. It's only finding the tile wrapped annotation. It's not even recognizing the, why is it not recognizing the other annotation? So, I know exactly why this isn't working. Hold on. No, wait, no, maybe? No, that dashed my thoughts pretty quickly. Okay, so are we missing, no, because it's got the template injector at the top of here. So it's clearly got a template here. And we've got the multi-block wrapped annotation. And these are basically the same. Oh, wait, we got a different thing here, retention source. I don't know why that's got a retention source when like nothing else, you know, I don't think it's even used. Yeah, the retention source thing doesn't actually matter because that's not how the system behaves. So it doesn't actually care about that, but what is failing with this? You know what's failing with this? Is that, probably. Yeah, that's actually exactly why that's not working. I forgot that the regex system requires that these be on the end of there, or it doesn't work. That's a small oversight on my part. That's where I want to get an annotation processor to properly handle this, because right now we're using pretty much a text processor to do this, and that is not the way it's supposed to be handled. And then I need to go launcher, and then do that right there. So that should fix in the next run. We're going to go ahead and just kill this so we can rerun it. So we run debug, and I don't need that. This is the class I want to look at. I think it already just reinitialized itself. Yeah, there's your multi-block code right there. Yes, that means it should run. I still need to add a handling to get rid of these extra imports here. That's the reason why I actually been using a text parser rather than doing an annotation processor, because there is advantages to it. But I gotta get it all figured out. I gotta come up with a good system to handle all this too. I've been thinking about even implementing a neural network, but I don't even know how that's even going to work. So I would have to train an AI how to comprehend code in the first place, and I think that'll take me longer than anything else to do. But it has its benefits. If I could train an AI how to code, I could just sleep all day and it'll make mods. I'm not going to do that though. That's so many things wrong with that ideal though. And I'm not talking about like the fearful AIs will reprogram themselves thing. Is actually, if you want a good neural network, or you want a good AI, you need to teach it how to reprogram itself. It's part of the development process. If an AI can't self-improve, it can't really go anywhere. The problem I find with it is that it's just really the amount of maintenance it would take to work with a proper AI that would program. Is you would spend months trying to get it to a point where it could write basic code. Because you got to teach it the rules. Okay, so this is working. That's the standard launcher. There's the small silo. If we go down one, what did you register as the template? Source data, tile provider. Okay, yeah, that's initialized correctly. Wonder why we're not getting any proper handling for it. I'm removing the debug line, you stupid machine. Here we go. Imagine one day I'm going to say that and AI is just going to be like, well, you're a stupid human. That would be kind of cool to have a conversation with your computer as you're working. It's like, well, you're being retarded. It's like, no, you're the one messing up. And you just go back and forth, have an argument with a machine. That's how you know when we've hit a point when we've made true artificial intelligence, is when a human being can argue with its machine. And we're not talking about like some fake argument where it's pulling like dictionary things, like a true argument like you would have with another person where you'd be arguing over something meaningless. If an AI can do that, it shows a lot of intelligence, a lot of thought process. And I mean, I know chatbots can do that right now, but it's a little hard to express what I'm trying to talk about. There's a lot of things about it that what I consider true intelligence versus a chatbot. Although chatbots actually can be remarkably intelligent. I've seen some pretty good ones lately. Although I kind of wish the ones that keep spamming me through Imgur would do more than try to bait you to clicking links. Imagine if you built up a proper conversation and had an actual AI properly talk to somebody and sit there and build up a relationship with them, then bait them into clicking the link. It would work so much better. You'd be able to monetize a lot more off of it too. I mean, it still feels cheaty. I mean, if you're getting baited into a conversation by an AI, it still feels like it should be a crime, illegal. But it's the ingenuity behind it that's amazing. It's if you ever seen those memes where the one guy with the mustache, I forget his name, but he's like, that's amazing. I'm not even mad. It's that style of meme. I would go grab the meme, but unlike Dire Wolf, I don't have a meme folder. I do, but not as big as his. God, that guy's got a meme folder for days. I need to categorize mine. The sad thing, the truth is, I actually have a lot of memes, but they're not categorized because I don't find it meaningful to do that. They're not named or anything. I just keep track of them because some of them are really good. Like, I got an entire economics thing explained via memes. Okay. It's working. Something we did that we changed has changed the functionality so it works. Still don't get anything rendering though. So we need to go back to this. Click. Okay. Data is null because it couldn't find the data handler for tile small is what it's looking for. So we want to go get render data. So we want to see what's causing this to fail. Because it's the get data part. So we have a class to name map, which contains 308 tiles. Wow. That means I have 308 tile entities registered. This is why my Minecraft takes forever to load, because you have things like IC2 in here and stuff. Wow. Okay. So we want to get our ID. So what is our ID? Our ID is ICBM small. How did that happen? Legitimately, I'm confused how that happened. Okay. Okay, so we want to look at our data map. We only got 17 keys, so we don't have to like spend a huge amount of time. So there's ICBM standard silo. And there's ICBM smice file. So something messed up with our key ID registration system. So I'm going to close this real quick. I need to go figure out how our tiles are registered, because there's something screwbally. And what I need to go look at is the test package. So we were just in there. How are we registering our tile? We are prefixing it, so we're doing the same thing here. No, we're not. There's no prefix here. So that's what I messed up. So there's something in the system that automatically prefixes the domain in front of things. So that screwed that path up, and that means I got to go fix all the ICBM tiles to do that. So content, silo, standard. This is where I always say and complain that I need to document things more, is because the person that's being hurt by not documenting is myself. When I don't document things properly, I don't come up with like drawings that go, okay, this is how the structure works. Like I got a bulletin board to my left right now that I actually have all the gun data listed out and documented on a piece of paper that tells me exactly how to do things. And because I didn't do that for this, I have made mistakes that have cost me a couple hours probably. Probably not that long. I overestimate when it comes to wasted time. So we're going to run this, and this is going to probably render now. It means our items should render, which I would love to see it actually render and see if that system's working. I don't think we've done 3D models for normal blocks yet. We've done stuff for items, and we've done things for guns. The gun actually has its own render system, but it is built on top of the voltage and item render system. So theoretically, it should work. So that we should get an item render for the block. But it's tricky if that's going to behave appropriately, and currently I have no in-game editor because we tried to work on the in-game editor a while back, and I found out quickly I need an override system, I need external handling, and I kind of just side project that. I just went, you know what, this goes back on the back burner because overrides are not that important, and I got the basic override system working. That way I eventually can let my client, for example, override in-game content to make his mod pack functional. Because after all, I am working for a couple people to build custom content for their packs. I can't reveal much right now. You guys have seen the content, so I don't think the client cares if you guys see the content, but he hasn't exactly given me anything else to go on. But he's got some cool stuff we're building for him. So we built the sentry gun for him. We built some stuff. Speaking of which, my artist Morton finally got me models for the rest of the guns I asked for. So he did show back up, and I'm happy about that. I still wish he would do more because after all, I want to get a lot of work done. But he did actually get this stuff for me. We'll probably be implementing this tomorrow. And I do like to note these are not some of the best models Morton can make, but I did tell him I didn't really care what they looked like, I just needed them done. So he kind of took liberties with that, what I said, and he gave me basic content. The thing is, it does actually look good. When you think about what Minecraft has and you think about other Minecraft style games, this is pretty much what you get. And this will work. I don't actually need much. I do need detachable clips though, so I'm kind of curious if that clip comes out. This is your handle, by the way. That's the clip. If they don't come out, it's no big deal. He did tell me he's going to give me some textures here later, and you know what, really quickly, I want to check something. Let's see what the size of these are. So you got the scale correctly, because these are just about roughly what I need them to be. Yeah, looks good. So he came through on that one, so tomorrow here, or sometime this week, we'll implement the rest of the guns for my clients. So we'll get the 3D models set up for them. We'll get the aiming and unaiming position for them. Those weapons will be able to be fired from the hip, as games call them, so you'll be able to fire them unaimed, but then there'll be an aim state versus unaimed state. And we'll probably do smoke particles when we do them. The priority, though, right now is to get ICBM functional, because I want to get builds out for you guys. We haven't been building builds as we promised to be doing weekly. We want to get back to doing that. We want to get you guys weekly builds. I want to try to get some new content out. Here Easter I wanted to do content, but with everything being broken the way it is, I couldn't do my normal yearly I want to troll you guys thing. The same thing for April's Fool's Day. I wanted to do stuff for that, ended up not doing that. Luckily there was already a cake missile in there, so I think some of you guys took some liberty and had some fun with that. I had some couple people send me videos of that already. Should have kept those links though. Those have been great things to go put up on the website and be showed some of the content feature off. But some things I want to do, I do want to add some integration for various things to have fun with. Some of the newer versions of Minecraft, I definitely want to do this, like, because I know there's an Easter egg with a man-eating rabbit, and I want to make a missile that deploys those. It would be really fun. But hopefully this will test and not crash. So I need to get to sleep here eventually. Only reason I'm awake right now is my insomnia is kicking my ass again. It's rendering. That's cool. Our multi-block code isn't running now. We'll have to debug the multi-code separately, but we did get the rendering running, and we did get various other things running. The silo, I actually want to say the silo actually probably does work. So we're gonna do something like this. Okay, silo doesn't work. That means I have a lot of work to do. The localization is messed up too. You see up the top where it goes tile silo name. Something's wrong with that. I'll have to fix that. That's probably the block localization messed up. But yeah, and then of course, let me check this. That's what is this? Oh, these are the test blocks. Lose my mind here slowly. That's ICBM Classic. For those of you that actually are going to complain when we haven't got this stuff out, just go play ICBM Classic. It works. Crashed. It's actually a good thing. I want to see what I crashed on. On block placed by. That's one of the listeners actually crashing. That's cool. That means it actually pulled in some listeners, and I failed to do something properly, which is causing this to actually fail. That's good. I actually wanted that to happen. I can fix this, but this does show that system's working. But I'm going to close this video to an end because it's about an hour long, and I need to go get some more food and get to sleep. So I'll see you guys another day.